Hi, welcome back to the Responsel. Today I wanted to talk about that you're not weak for needing quiet. Um, One of the most productive things you can do is stop trying to be productive for a little while. That sounds backwards, but I think it's one of the most important skills that we learn. So let's talk about it. Um, I have this new fancy Nancy notes thing that I'm trying. Um, So recovery and reflection are essential. This is in all stages of your life, just not just personal, but also in your family, community, even political. Um, Allowing quiet is, I'm going to talk about what quiet is first, but then I'm going to talk about what self loyalty is and what that looks like. And then emotional resilience, you know, be able to handle the things. Something called domination by exhaustion. I did not come up with the name. It's so intimidating though. Um, and then a deeper understanding of what cognitive webbing is, like how we figure out concepts and how that works and how emotions work for or against it. And then because I'm a gamer, we're going to talk about a game that kind of ties the ideas together. That's the plan. So when I say quiet, what am I talking about? Not actively being productive, working on tasks. There was a book. It's called. I don't have it anymore. It's called Slow Productivity. It's actually a pretty good book. It's got a couple good examples about how just the one guy just he was a journalist and just literally went to a park for 2 weeks straight and just didn't really think about anything. And then suddenly, poof, in his head, it came to him how to organize everything. And it was the most non-productive productive he had ever been in his life. um, Even just low stimulations, like having no low noise. Like I'm personally somebody who's very sensitive about noises. Some of my friends think it's hilarious because they'll like how Halloween they're like scare you and jump scare you. I will jump every single time. They have a loud noise, goes off 5 times. I will still jump every single time. I'm just a sensitive noise person. So if you're somebody who's uh, easily stimulated like that, like you need quiet. Um, Honest recovery time. I talked about this in another video, my burnout video, where you need just dedicated time to recover, honest recovery. Like games that are, yes, they're fun, but continue to train you is not honest recovery, things like that. Um, Allowing mental reflections. So I'm a writer. Uh, one of my world building problems was just the world building because there was just so much to it. I wanted a world that I could sink my teeth into that was deep. So one of the things I did is I would take I wrote on my walls, but I didn't write on my walls. Like I took note cards and I would fill out things and they were just all over my walls, taped up with scotch tape and everything. Like it was hilarious. It was just bad. But I would take days off where I wouldn't work on it and just suddenly poof, it would just appear in my head like, oh, that's perfect. And it took a couple years to get all this stuff together. And then I would put it in Excel sheets. And then I finally found Scrivener and I put it in Scrivener and things kept would pop up just out of random. So reflective time is important. That's where I was going with that. And why do we feel guilty about being quiet? Why is it seen as bad? Well, recovery isn't easily measured, right? You're not The Sims. You're not like, oh, I need this much time. This age people's different. If they have a mental illness, if they have burnout, what their recovery is. If somebody's a climber, if that's what they do, if that's how they relax, that's not as accessible as somebody who is a gamer, right? I can take 5 minutes and play a quick game of something and I can feel more relaxed. I am not a climber. No, no. Anywho, extroverts are just those model citizens, right? But it's because extroverted behavior is simply easier to notice. they recover and process themselves with the people. It makes sense. It's becoming more and more awareness, I've noticed, but it's still, you should come out. It's not healthy. No, leave me alone in my house. And then, of course, the internal, the consistent need for external validation. If you're somebody who's not in an emotionally healthy place, emotionally regulated, you're likely to have a need for needing approval, and that kind of stuff. And you reflect that into yourself, that you might be a bad person for not getting approval. And so if you're allowing yourself quiet time, you're like, oh, I'm horrible. I'm not getting praised for things. So recognizing that you need this, we need to turn to self-loyalty. Self-loyalty is a decision to not abandon yourself. Your needs and wants are important. So I like Mexican food. Okay. I have a ton of friends who love Asian food. So about 90% of the time, we eat Asian food. That's fine. I'm fine with it, but on occasion I'll be, I'm a bit burnt out on the Asian food. Can we do something Mexican? Now, I mean, it's easy to go too far with that. Like when you're into the spoiled, entitled territory, when only your wants matter. Yeah, don't do that. But there's a midway to being loyal to yourself, where you can't be loyal to yourself. You want to protect your future self. I trust myself to keep myself from burning out. I used to be in this loop. I can handle this. I can keep pushing. Burnout. Take forever to recover and completely forget the lesson. And then I do it all over again. When you break this cycle, it feels very weird. Like taking a day off when you feel a cold coming on, but instead of waiting until you look like death, you trust that, okay, I can just take a day off. I mean, I have had that situation where I felt the cold coming on, and I knew in my head, I figured this out, that if I just take one day and relax, I will get over this, versus if I don't, it'll take like 5 days and even longer, and I'll feel miserable. And I have had a manager's call, and like, if you're on your deathbed, I will wheel your hospital bed in this laboratory. You will be here. And it's like, go away. No, you have to be able to be loyal to yourself. You got to trust. Okay. So for you people pleasers out there, if you're not a pillar, others can't rely on you, right? My favorite example of this, I'm gonna nerd out a little bit. It's actually Captain Picard. So my uncle would record all the Star Trek Next Generation episodes. So I mean, I wasn't around when they were coming out, but I had them on. They had them on all the time, so I knew them. So when I was at my grandparents' house, so Captain Picard was this weird, bizarre pillar of strength. I didn't fully understand it until later. It was just one of those back of the mind things. And I had it in my head. It was like a Pokemon system, okay, where the boys all started out as Weasleys. They become Rikers. And then eventually, when they are ready, they will become Picards, like leaders, baldness and everything. Like, that's what I had in my head. He was just this profoundly grounded, unrelenting force. Like, even when a literal chaos god appeared, when the Q episodes, he didn't relent. He knew who he was, and he did things accordingly. I would love to be that one day. That would be fantastic. So being able to say that I won't need tomorrow morning for myself is going to feel weird. It's going to feel weak. And there are people that will push back against that, and that's okay. That wherever they're at, that is where they're at. That's not where you're at. Their discomfort isn't something that needs your loyalty as much as yourself. Okay. They can deal with it. They can figure themselves out eventually. Maybe people model off of each other, right? Your change will erupt other people's changes. As long as they're an adult, treat them as people who can handle their own emotions. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is emotional resilience. Ability to adapt to stressful situations and setbacks, because they're going to happen. It's like if you have a savings account. If you're fortunate enough to have a savings account, which I know a lot of us don't have right now, you don't have one. It's because you know that one day you'll need it. You don't have it because it's cool to do. Right? You have it because you're going to need it one day. Emotional intelligence, and I'll do whole videos on these. It's like a muscle, where it gets stronger through repetition. It's being able to, an example would be where you can experience the emotion, because you don't want to suppress the emotion. You still want to experience the emotion, but still being able to observe it, where you're not in it, where it's not making the decisions. It's not blocking you from logical pathways. That's the emotional intelligence thing that I'm referring to. Being able to observe with calm discernment instead of just wherever the actions take me. All right. So the domination by exhaustion thing. This, yeah. So when fatigue starts making the decisions, if you are physically and emotionally exhausted, you're going to do whatever is easiest. This is not a flaw. This is just what is human, what is natural. When you're in that survival mode, I'm not safe. Like, even if you can consciously say, oh, I'm safe, it's the subconscious I'm not safe that I'm talking about. You turn to whatever is there. I always think of that 9/11 whole NSA thing when I think of that. I'm not necessarily saying it was wrong. I can't really say for sure. I'm not a political analyst, right? But it was concerning. It was concerning how fast that happened. That's where I'm going with that. When you have low patience and low compassion, you defer to the authorities. This is how you get cult movements, radical movements, where you feel the emotion first and then you act, instead of somebody who is more emotionally regulated, like I was talking about, the emotional intelligence, where you observe, then decide, and then act. That's ideal. I have some people who, and I'll talk about this later, but they will just not understand. They will think that the emotion is observing and just not understand. So I'll try to break this down as best I can. Or eventually, mostly you want to get to a place where eventually fatigue stops being something you experience. Fatigue starts making the decisions. That's my main warning here. Okay, so this webbing thing. My father's an artist, so I have fancy Nancy tools. We're going to start with a really basic one. So water is wet. Hopefully nobody's arguing this. So this branches out, this webs out, right? So rain is also water, so it's also wet, okay? Puddles, same idea, okay? This also branches out where rain, storms, right? Same idea. This is how I think, this is how everything I've read that this makes sense most to me, how people think. The problems comes, go back here, when you get a concept and it comes to you, say from a teacher or a book, somebody who's emotionally neutral. That's what I'm talking about at the moment. And it'll come to you in a box. Okay. I've had this a couple times where, I'll bring them a concept, Well, actually, my mother is a manager at Walmart. This is probably a better example, where she'll bring them to one department, say the shoe department, and this is how you organize. This is how we want things to organize. And she'll bring them to another department. Everything's organized already. So she'll show them, okay, this is how you clean. This is how things are done this way. And they will only go to this department and they'll only organize, and they'll only go to this department and they'll only clean. Like, and it won't branch out that these are concepts to use everywhere. I see this all the time in various other examples. And what needs to happen is they either have the natural cognitive ability to branch out, which you would say that somebody is smart that can do that, or they need to sit and reflect, which is ideal. And I'm definitely get caught in this. This is the book I'm reading right now. It's Taoism stuff. Very deep concepts. I need to sit with it. I am not smart enough to understand this right away. So I have to sit and reflect. The danger comes is when you get charismatics. So let's say Hitler, because he was a bad guy, but he was very charismatic. So he would tell people ideas and have a very strong emotion around it. And the reason a lot of people didn't go against it is as soon as they would come up to the shield, the emotional shield, they would think, oh, I'm a bad person for even thinking this. They're going to feel the feels. And then immediately turn away. Even if in a different situation, they would logically be able to say, oh, no, this doesn't make sense. Or no, this doesn't logically or in any capacity make sense, because that emotional barrier is there. They can't push through. You either need to be able to control your emotions somehow. So like people who do suppress their emotions, yes, that's bad, but it does work. They're not even going to let this even happen. I do follow a couple people that are like this, that don't let that happen, and so they do have more of a logic for me to follow, and as somebody who's not hindered by these things, and it's necessary. I think it's necessary as a society that we have people like that. But ideally, you have the emotional intelligence that you can get through it, that you can be able to say, yes, this emotion's here. Yes, it can exist, but I need to be able to make decisions otherwise. That's where I'm going. The next problem, though, is perception problem. So here's some of the perception filter problems that we have. So like emotional, like this, like coming up to the barrier, like this feels right or this feels wrong. And they assume that that is the truth. That 2 + 2 = 4. Well, that doesn't feel right. That logic. Okay. Or, oh, like, all men are evil. I've heard that one before. This likely comes from some kind of trauma or based in anxiety, but it's obviously not a fact. I have known far too many good men for that to be true. Another one is popularity. If a lot of people think of this, then there must be some truth to it. You get this with like buying a product that has 5,000 5-star reviews. Oh, there must be something good about this. Well, not necessarily. Or even punished by rewards. That's a good one. It's the whole idea of the book is to break the idea that reward systems are a good thing, and it's really not. And they still teach in universities today that reward systems are good when they're proven not. And it's just one of those hard things to break because so many people naturally believe in it. Authority roles. Experts trust, like everyone's got an example of a medical expert that's turned them into a wrong way. Experts are valuable. I'm not saying they're not, but they are advisors and they don't know everything. It's not their fault. It's just we don't know enough to be able to make truly informed decisions that way. You can go to 5 different doctors and get 5 different answers, right? Do your research, do your reflecting, and find answers. Um, oh, and the evidence people. This again, none of these are evil, but like the evidence things, it's easy to be rigid with it. Oh, there's never enough evidence. Always more research you can do, and you can just easily dismiss it. Like, no, there's not enough evidence. I don't know enough about this. There doesn't always have to be a universal pillar of truth. Um, respect each other's autonomy. If somebody truly does believe that this is true, then okay, as long as it doesn't hurt you or anything anyway, go for it. Just do what you need to do. Yeah, and the danger is that, like I said, none of these are evil in themselves. The danger is stopping at the resistance and not logically thinking it through and not letting yourself be able to think it through. Okay, so this is dot age. Yeah, it's a colony builder puzzle game. You have the main idea. I mean, you have your basic food stuff. You get the people, make more people, that kind of thing. You have your research trees, all of that. The main idea, though, is that you have 4 types of apocalypses that you have to deal with in various strengths. So this is the prophecy right now that I'm dealing with. On today's thing, you have a prophecy. This is the weather column. So I'm going to have some kind of event, some kind of apocalypse event with the weather. This one's health. This one's fear and hope. And this one's faith and destruction, I think is what it's called. So you can see this one, it's got one more day and it's got some kind of cold thing. So I'm beating it way beyond what I need. So I'm protected from it. So that's fine. The thing though is if you let it get bad, if you let it overrun, you will be dealing with some kind of bad event that can affect the entire game. So it compounds on. Versus if you let it something good happen, you can possibly get a boon that will protect you throughout the game. And one of the main things I wanted to bring up with this is the research tree. Now, in some games, you can research as needed. No, oh, this is not research tree. This one. Yeah, some games you can research as needed. Well, this game you have to research way ahead of time. So like the food and everything, like not only do you have to research, but then you have to build the building, you have to teach the people, and accumulate whatever points towards that apocalypse by the time the apocalypse happens. So there are sometimes you don't get a whole lot of warning ahead of time. So this is one of those you have to build yourself up well before it happens. Which brings us to that original point I was talking about, where you want to have resilience, for emotional resilience for whatever is going to happen, right? The savings account thing, or even like pre-maintenance on your car. You want to make sure things are taken care of before something bad happens. And the same with the boons and everything. Like everything compounds. Like if you're having a bad day where multiple bad things are happening, it's going to keep compounding. Versus if you nip something in the bud, I mean, nothing else might happen the rest of that day, but something else might happen, and you can, as long as you can keep nipping them, you're going to be good. So the basic gist is that quiet isn't weakness, right? It's maintenance. You want to rest before you plan on returning, because you want to keep going. 1 hour of maintenance today will prevent a month of burnout later. I've done that many, many times. Um, I would love to hear any examples of quiets in the comments. That'd be great. Um, Thanks for hanging out and good night.